Right now I'm doing an entertainment center for a customer. It's a floating entertainment center. I've done one before, but it's been so long ago that I no longer know all the measurements to it, so I'm reinventing it again. Going over the learning curve again and again. It's one of those things that you just can't help but do when you're doing one-offs. Each one of them takes a lot more time than you think. If you were selling this product for time, you'd be upside down. If I wasn't doing this partially as a kick in the pants, I probably have to charge a lot more. Well, these little gnats out here are bad. I better get started though. It's gonna be hot as hell today. I'm doing it in black walnut and black walnut burl, but I have a base of plywood that I'm laying some veneer on. I have my veneer press heating up right now, and I have a little time, so I'm gonna make the extra piece that I need for inside the support. I'm just kind of not sure which piece of plywood I want to cut up to that narrow size. It's not a very big piece that I need, and if this will fit, I might just, nah, not gonna make it that size. It's all right. I'll cut the big one and then just cut a piece off the end. That little X means that's the side that the blade goes on. That tells me how big a piece I need. This is the base. This is the edge. See, it's upside down, so you can't really tell what it is yet. This fits in here. This is the faceboard. This is what the hinges will get applied to right here. This is a gap where his entertainment controls panels are. This is a slot for the top shelf. I need to make an additional slot down here on the bottom somewhere.
How'd you make that first slot?
With the table saw. I didn't even...
Use like a router or no?
No, just the table saw. Just made like 8 passes on the table saw. Oaky way to do it, rather than setting up the router to do it. I don't have a router table, so I could have set the saw up with a stacked dado, but there's only 4 cuts to make. It kind of takes longer to set it up than it does to do it. And so I chose to just do it. So I'm deciding whether or not I want to have a big lip at the bottom. One of the problems with this piece is that it's a wall hanging piece for a French cleat. And this whole apparatus is going to be well over 300 pounds. And so whatever you do, you got to make it strong enough to hold itself up. And whatever crap they decide to put inside those shelves. Yeah, that's fun. So the whole thing is you have to have some kind of inside stress markers for the boards to fit in, some pockets for those to fit in so that it doesn't rack. And that's why I'm putting these in. Usually I don't even bother to do that. I just end them to each other, but that's not really a good way. I think I'm going to leave a little mess. I think I'll leave 1.25 inches at the bottom. You really need all that strength for securing this thing together. I think I have to put a kind of a torsion box thing in the bottom.
How big is this going to be?
It's 24 inches tall and 18 inches deep and 101 inches long. It's a monster. And you really have to engineer for the back to carry everything because it's just a French cleat holding it on the wall. And so every step, you don't want to mess up this piece because you've got effort invested in it. Not like turning a leg where you can just hop to something and go blazing in on the lathe and think you're on the right track, and it's okay to goof up over there. But here, you've got a lot already of time invested into this, so you got to think everything through. And I just don't draw things up. I just think it through in my head, and that just takes a minute, you know. So I'm engineering this thing as I'm building it. I work on one part at a time. As long as I see a way forward, the rest of it just kind of falls into place. And so my way forward right now is to put another kerf in here, just like that one, somewhere in this area, so that all of this wood that's left over can keep this from racking. And so I'm going to go with about 1 1/4 inches. I'll set up the table saw for, do I want 1 1/4 inches over it or 1 1/4 inches under it? I think I could be happy with 1 inch under it. So I'm going to set it at 1 1/4 inches. 1 1/4. And I want a kerf that's really low. It's better to cut it twice to get your depth than to screw it up the first time. So it's going to be on that side, okay? If you like the videos, please subscribe. It helps me do more videos and bring more content to more users. Thank you. That up a little bit because some of those didn't overlap very well. That's good enough. All right.
Does that get sanded in there?
No, that's the height. That's hidden. That's for this. That's for that to fit in. So this can't turn this direction. You see, you can't pull that off of that direction.
Yeah, that's fine.
That keeps it from racking.
Now, this, right, is this a form of joinery?
Yeah, it's a rabbet. They call it a rabbet. That's a rabbet. And this, it must be, that's the hole, this is the rabbet, I guess. One goes in the other. So since this is the same final thickness as those pieces I'm working on, I just used this as a sample of the appropriate thickness, because now we have veneer on both sides of that.
So you know, like, once it's, like, finished.
Yeah, it keeps getting thicker. Every time you add veneer, you get thicker, and it's not a standard router bit anymore. You kind of have to figure it out, you know. But that makes it nice and true. And now I need to make a kerf this way. And it has to stop here. You can't go above that, because the back has to fit in that also to keep it from sliding. And so I can cut through this side. That's no big deal. So this is a stop right there. And so I need to set up a stop so that I can not make that all the way through. If I need to make that, I'm not sure I do. Now that I have this one in.
What would that be for?
That's to keep it from peeling away from the wall like that. It keeps it from being able to move in this direction. So you have to put another one of these in here to prevent that. Yeah. So it has to go in there. I'm not really convinced that this is a good idea because that's just going to pop right off of there. So I have to put something that goes through all the way through here. Maybe I'll put some, because I'm trying to do is lengthen this board, trying to get my 101 inches, and it's just like 5/8 too short. It's a full 97 and a half, and I added another 5/8 to get it to the right length. It'd be interesting to see how I have to solve that. I see that it has potential to just peel off of there. It kind of defeats the purpose of putting the rabbet in there because there's no rabbet there. I really like to mock it up, just to see what it looks like sitting on the piece. And so I'm going to set it over here and see what it looks like. Yeah, that's perfect size. It just defeats the purpose of that rabbet, just all to hell. I think I'm going to have to cut this off. I might just shorten this whole top. I'm not sure the length of this thing is set in stone. He said make it like the other guys, but I think I'd rather make it good than exactly like the other guy. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take these two ends off. It only makes it an inch shorter. It was 101, so it'll be 100, I don't think the client really cares that much. It's not like it has to match up a piece of marble or anything. It's kind of just a floating thing on the wall. Absolutely certain he won't care. Yeah, I had it on to meet the spec to go to 101, but now that I see that those are going to be the break-off point, I'm just going to destroy the spec and go an inch smaller. It's not going to make any difference in the scheme of things. That's the break point right there. Much easier to break that off than it is to break off a chunk of plywood. And so you put domino in here, really you're only in like a 1/4 inch into the plywood, and it's just going to snap that off. So you defeated your purpose of putting that groove on there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel that off, put my dominoes in that, and that'll be a lot sturdier. Dominoes, well, actually it won't be dominoes, it'll just be fitting in that groove. And the dominoes will be for the actual back. The back is a 3/4 inch back. Usually you put like a 1/8 inch to a 1/4 inch back on something, but this back has to be mega strong because it is the backbone of holding this thing on there. So you're kind of building from the back forward, and it's upside down, so I'm kind of building upside down from the back forward. That's why it's a little confusing to me. So yeah, I'm going to retrace my steps here and get those off of there, and when I come back, I'll fit this together, and that'll be the appropriate way to solve this. And I'm going to sand off this edge to make it so that it'll accept a veneer. Okay, and this little piece also gets a little bit of walnut trim. It's on one side, it'll have walnut trim too. And so I'll put that on right now before the veneer goes on. And if I don't put gloves on, I will stick to that project. This is a little pin nailer, shoots a 22 gauge pin nailer. I think I'm going to make this stick down a little better before I saw it. duck out of water here with the pull saw with my left hand. All right. So these, I now have to get rid of this little end. That's probably going to be real easy. I don't think those are on there very well. Ooh, that was on there, looked pretty good. Still, I don't think they're on there good enough to keep the end from pulling them off. That was, they're on there pretty good, but not good enough for me. Maybe they are, but I don't think so. Wow, that's pretty damn good, isn't it? I was thinking they weren't on that good. Damn, that's pretty good. I have changed my mind. You know, after trying to do a demo on that, I just might go back the other direction and go, holy mackerel, that was better than I thought it was. So, live and learn, man. I thought I was onto something, but you never know, you know? You just, you try. This is going to stick my hands together. That's why I lose gloves right there. See, that's going to be veneered over. That doesn't have to be pretty. But that makes it the whole length again. I thought for sure this wasn't on there very good, but I have changed my mind. All right. So I've got this one set up over here to start sanding. I just want to see how some of this stuff's going to fit, first of all. Yeah, I like what I'm seeing. It's the right size. Yeah, okay. So I do have some options about how I can make this assemble. I'm going to have both edges able to clamp to the, so maybe I'll do it off on an angle. This will help hold stuff together. Act like an additional hand. Plus it helps keep it square. These are little 90-degree angles that aluminum and powder coating. They're kind of cute, but I've got glue all over them from all my work. I like them to be able to keep support the work while keeping it square. I might put another one on this side, just as a, let's see if those are flat, okay. Let's see how far I gotta go there. Yeah, that'll work. I think so that will help hold this with a clamp. So like this. And I'll have two hands to work with. This will kind of act like a little clamp. If you don't do this step and just start gluing, you're really taking 2 steps backwards. You got to dry fit every single piece. As cumbersome as it is, it's necessary. So I just want to make sure I don't have to start over. I would rather start over and not have to do the veneer work twice. So I'm going to dry fit this and understand that there will be some veneer going over it. Determined not to do this work too many times. Just do it once, you know, this time. The middle, watch the middle go up and down. You know, you're clamping it too tight, when. Okay, so, and this one's going to be fun. This one goes in this one. There. Spec was 1 inch over on each side. I think I have 1 inch over on each side. This has to be trimmed because it's not square. Yeah, and it'll be veneered on 2 sides. This side will just have paper. This side will have veneer because I don't need to put veneer on this side, but I do have to balance it. Whatever you put veneer on one side, you got to put something on the other side. Doesn't matter if it's veneer or paper. If it's going to show, it has to be veneer. If it's not, paper. It's a special paper. Veneer paper. It costs a bundle.
Is that when you say paperback veneer?
Yeah.
Paper up?
Yeah. It's a special paper. It costs a bundle. I get it from Kimberly Clark or somebody back east. I bought some 20 years ago, and I'll have to search them again to find out who the hell that was. I bought they do so much veneer work that I bought one of their rems. You know, it's too small to run on the production line. Their remnant roll was a 200-pound roll. That roll must have been this tall. Too small for us to work with, but we'll sell it to you. I think I'll put veneer on both sides on this one because it's for the bottom. You might look under there and see something. And I wouldn't want you to see paper. I'd rather you see veneer. This is a hot platen, and this is a hot platen. And this is a piece of Mylar, so I don't have to put that release goo on here because I don't want to contaminate my veneer. Even though they say it's compatible with glue, it's a pain in the ass to keep smearing it on. It's like Crisco. I have a 150-gallon tank over there to support this, but this thing drains it every single press. And it finishes really fast, though. It finishes in 4 minutes. Let's find out how much veneer I need before I soften this whole mess. This veneer is 1/42 of an inch thick. It's really thin, like a business card. And it's really fragile. I want to guess how much veneer I need. Overlapping glue, so 3 of these. And can I cut them in half? No, I'm going to have 3. So 3, 6, 9, 12. I need 14 sheets of veneer. And that means I got to fill up my veneer softening machine, this guy, and put some softener in there. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. It's glycerin-based. You get it from veneersystems.com. And I don't like the way it feels on my hands. And so, yeah, gloves for sure. Softener that I buy from veneersystems.com. I don't know if they make it or what. But as soon as I empty one of their bottles, I put it for water. So it's marked for water. It's a 50-50 solution. So half of this and half of that. And that should be plenty to soften all that veneer. And if it's not, I'll leave it out and I'll top it off again if I have to. I keep 2 of these sprayers around, one for softener and one for finish. At this point, you just had to try to not rip it totally in half. All of these big cracks in here will be tied together with the stitcher. $40 a gallon, last time I bought it. So I'll use $40 worth probably doing this. I haven't done the faces yet, you know, for the doors. This is all the stuff that's inside the cabinet, and that's mostly hidden. A lot of this stuff I'm doing right now is the hidden stuff. You don't see it until you open the cabinet. I never stack them more than 8 high because they won't get soft in the center. So let me count something here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 15 sheets, so one's going to be 8, one's going to be 7. This is where this goop drips out. If you see stuff looks like chewing tobacco on the outside of this press, this is the stage that makes that. If I get it really too wet, it'll squeeze out. Okay, got my air hooked up. Here's my finger I made. That's my finger to hold the button down. And this is my little clamp, holds the button down. And this has to have that old trigger pushed. And then this why are you not working? There it goes. Ta-da! It's not supposed to be still working. All of its piers that were made when that was made, all out of service. I called the guy about some parts, some hoses, and he said, well, we'll fly out from New York. It's $2,000 for us to get there, and then we do our work. It takes 2 days to do the work. I said, what do you do? He said, we're replacing hoses and stuff. It's all deteriorated by now. I said, why can't I do that? He said, well, you can. Most people don't know how. For $2,000, I'll figure it out. You know? So I just, when the first hose I started breaking, I figured out where I could get some of that hose. And it wasn't exactly the right hose. And so I put some of the hose in there that's not exactly the right one, but it's a pneumatic press, so it doesn't matter. I had to sweat the hose with a little torch in order to force it on the ferrule. And so I finally did find the right stuff, and my tubing was far superior than theirs. So once it's on there, it's never coming off unless you heat it and cut it to take it off. Probably outlasts the original manufacturers. So next, probably, inside this press is a bunch of like fire hoses. And those fire hoses are plugged at the bottom and they have a valve, and that valve puts air into them. So as they inflate, they push this bottom up. There's all those wood softening stains from the veneer. So that as that raises up, that's what presses. This top plate is stable. It's static. It doesn't move. And this whole press weighs about 5,000 pounds. It was fun getting it in here. I bought it online, used, sight unseen. Because when you put a hardwood edge around, you have to trim the hardwood edge to the edge of the veneer, to the edge of the plywood. And in doing so, you probably remove a little bit in order to get it flush. And so when you're in a really flat press, those discrepancies don't get compass. Your press doesn't kind of press more on the edges than it does in the middle. And so that's why you always have to do the edges. It's a pill to do the edges, but you know, that's part of the degree of difficulty in veneer is you have to put a hardwood edge on, or you have to do edge banding afterwards. You know, you can iron on edge banding afterwards or before. I don't know how you do. I'd never iron on any edge banding. I always just use 1/2 inch wood. That way it's easy to figure out the dimensions. If it's 14 3/4, you can just go 13 3/4 and you get something on each end. So 1/2 inch is easy to deal with.
The next day,
Get rid of. Right now I'm going to make a seam. I just want it to be perpendicular to that line there. I have a lot of stitching to do here. Lots of cracks and stuff I need to fix. Today I'm putting in this center divider. This is what will hang the door on that side and the door on this side. It's upside down at this moment. I'm going to put a frame all the way around it up here, and this will be covered by the door, so you won't see that extra seam there. But I feel that I need to do something to keep this plywood from changing shape, because over the years it's going to start sagging, because it's only 3/4, and that's a pretty good size span. That's like 48 inches. So I'm going to put a frame around the bottom, this kind of thing, and This will also help tie the sides to the bottom a little better, because right now it's just in a dado, and it's not a very deep dado. And the back is going to tie this together, so this frame is going to tie all the back together. And this is put in with some pocket screws on both sides, and this is toe-nailed with a screw on both ends, and everything's glued in. This little guy here is on there just to keep it from sliding over. It really can't slide over because it's already screwed on this side, but I just want to keep it straight so that my doors hang better. Straight and plumb is good, so this is what I'm aiming for here, straight and plumb. Whatever I put on there, I got to sand off the residue, so I don't want to put too much on there. And it's veneer I'll be sanding off on top of, so you're liable to sand off the veneer if you're not careful.
What grit do you use to sand veneer?
220. Although I do use 180 once in a while. I don't mind sanding it. I'm pretty good at it. I've done a lot of it. So I think we're cool now. This piece is evolving. It's an entertainment center. It was supposed to be hanging on a wall, but as it got more completed, its size began to be a problem. It has French cleats on the back because it was supposedly going to be hanging on a wall. But right now it's in excess of 270 pounds. And hanging it on a wall and then filling it with something is going to be a problem. And I suspect that he's going to put LPs in it, records. And you know how much that stuff weighs. Man, that stuff's heavy. So this much records, there's probably 300 pounds of records. That's putting an awful lot of stress on some 2x4s that are inside his wall. It might just do something, you know. So I called him, and he, without a blink, he said, yeah, let's just put legs on it. All that work I did for the back. That's okay. So the back is really sturdy. 3/4 inch back on a piece like this, you know, that adds a ton of weight. And all the bolts that are screwed to the back to make the back, the support mechanism, are hidden inside. So I'm not going to take that stuff apart. I'm just going to leave the French cleat on there. This is a little see-through area here for electronics and stuff.